right, welcome aboard, everybody. Time to talk New York Giants football, free agency, breaking down any trades. We'll do it all, man. This guy, he doesn't get a vacation during the offseason. I feel for him, man. By the way, we are presented by Northeast Roofing Professionals. Today's video brought to you by our friends at the Allen Floral Group, specifically the Floral Gardens, and we'll hear from them in just a little bit. But let's bring in our Giants insider. He breaks it down with us all year long. It is the one, the only, from Big Blue View, Mr. Ed Valentine. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I was listening to your intro, and I had to laugh because, like, I have family members, I have friends, I have people who know what I do for a living, and they always say to me, what do you do once the games end? What do you do for the next 7 or 8 months? And I'm like, you have no idea what this job is, do you? You have no clue.
They don't.
So it doesn't stop. It just changes.
Yeah. Football never ends. My wife was actually asking me yesterday, so, what do you do during the rest of the time, And I was like, football is 365 days a year. I mean,
Yeah.
Maybe there's a couple of days here or there.
Just the NFL has absolutely mastered the day-to-day calendar and the ability to at the very least create some sort of small news almost every single day that requires your attention.
Yes.
It's crazy.
All right, Ed, we've got a lot to talk about, so let's just get going here. And let's start with the free agency world for the Giants. They have been busy. The list is, about 12 guys I'm looking at right here, but we'll start at the top of the list and work our way down. Let's talk about the Giants going out and getting a linebacker. The rumors were out there, and indeed, those rumors were true. They were able to get Tremaine Edmunds from the Chicago Bears, and he helps plug that middle. They still have work to do there, but I do like that addition. Give me your thoughts on Tremaine Edmunds becoming a Giant.
Gotta love it. I mean, for me, it's an upgrade from Bobby Okereke, and I loved Bobby, but it was clear that 2022 season that Okereke had was sort of an outlier when he was so good. Edmunds upgrades the run defense. There's some questions about his movement skills in pass coverage, but he upgrades the run defense. And that's the point for John Harbaugh. I don't know how much they're going to be able to upgrade the defensive tackle situation. There's some guys out there in free agency, and there's some guys in the draft, but they don't have a lot of capital. So they're attacking that run defense, from the linebacker spot. And I was happy to see them re-sign Micah McFadden as well, whether he ends up as a starter or whether he ends up as depth.
We knew that there was going to be a pipeline. Naturally, there always is when a new head coach comes in to his previous organization and bringing some of those guys in. And there's a lot of guys on this list, but as Lurch said, we'll sort of start on the top and work our way down. Isaiah Likely. He's a guy that if Giant fans just look at the stats, they're not going to see overwhelming statistics that feed into the contract he received. But it was also because he was paired with Mark Andrews forever there in Baltimore. But a very talented pass catcher has now joined Malik Neighbors in that passing game. What you make of Isaiah Likely landing in New York?
Well, first and foremost, do the Ravens have any players left?
That's a good question. I got filter through. Yeah.
Do they have any players left at all? Including that guy that ended up going back to the Raiders. But Isaiah Likely, interesting signing because he's listed as a tight end. I think you look at his statistics. I do agree with you that there's more meat on the bone there. And I think that's the reason why John Harbaugh, brought him to the Giants. My guess is the Giants lost Wan'Dale Robinson, slot receiver, to Tennessee, which basically took all the Giants players, basically. For some reason, a 3-win team thought raiding a 4-win team's roster was a good way to get better. I'm not, and I don't know about the logic of that, but anyway, I think Isaiah Likely is probably the slot receiver replacement for Wan'Dale Robinson. I really do. I think I think the Giants are going to use a lot of 2 tight end packages. They've got Isaiah Likely. They've got Theo Johnson, who's 6'6" and 260. I think both of those guys are going to spend a lot of time split off the line of scrimmage. So I think the offense is going to look a little bit different. But Isaiah Likely, probably a good upside signing for the Giants.
And Ed, another one that the Giants end up keeping, and this was a big concern about trying to keep that offensive line together, was Jermaine Illuminor. I actually thought they got him at a reasonable price, all things considered, and the fact that there were probably other teams that were in the market for a guy like this. So I find it very intriguing. The Giants obviously want to keep that line intact, if not improve it. And then also, if you could, on as an extension of that discussion, talk about the insane money that Tyler Linderbaum got, because I wanted him and I was willing to spend, but I don't know that I would have been willing to spend that. I mean, I didn't think it was going to be anywhere near that number for a center. I think that would have been irresponsible spending for the Giants, as much as I love the player and his age and all of the upside. I think that would have been irresponsible. And I'm glad that indeed someone else was willing to do that, and the Giants did not go down that road, all things considered. But give me your thoughts about the state of the line and then that Linderbaum signing.
Well, I'll actually start with Linderbaum because I was with you. I thought a while back, I thought Linderbaum would be their first target because John Harbaugh talked so much about the offensive line. You know, Linderbaum was the linchpin of his offensive line in Baltimore. And the previous, high salary for a center was $18 million a year. I could have stomached it. Because the cap keeps going up. I could have stomached it depending on how you structure the contract if you go to 20, maybe 21. But who was competing with the Raiders to get to 27? I mean, are you serious? $9 million more than Creed Humphrey, per year. I mean, that's crazy money. Thank goodness the Giants didn't go there. Tyler Linderbaum is better than John Michael Schmitz, but John Michael Schmitz is not chopped liver. John Michael Schmitz is an adequate NFL center, and you can't spend that kind of money for Tyler Linderbaum. I shook my head at that. But in terms of the Jermaine Illuminor signing, I looked at it this way: there was Illuminor, there was Cordale Flott, there was Wan'Dale Robinson. And for me, the must sign out of that group was Illuminor because the Giants' offensive line was pretty good last year. And honestly, you don't want to create another hole in that offensive line where what you probably do, if you lose Illuminor, you probably have to go at number 5 in the draft and take an offensive tackle who there's probably going to be, maybe even a half dozen higher rated prospects than either of the offensive tackles, at number 5. So for me, you had to re-sign Illuminor. The price they got him at, I don't know if Illuminor gave them a hometown discount, but I had expected him to possibly end up making more money than that. So 3 years, $39 million. First 2 years guaranteed. Actually, a pretty nice price tag for them to get Jermaine Illuminor at. So good. Like I said, I thought that was the one of the 3 that they had to have back. And I won't spoil it, but I'm sure that you guys are going to have questions about certain things that have happened on the interior of the offensive line here.
Well, that's where I wanted to go next. I can't believe Lurch buried the lead. The most significant offensive line addition that Big Blue made was bringing Big Evan Neal back into the fold. And obviously, I'm being sarcastic here, Ed Valentine. But my question is this: I understand why the Giants, in theory, would be interested in bringing Evan Neal back. He's a big hunk of man, and he's he's young, and he's obviously talented. And Harbaugh isn't Dable. He wasn't the guy around Evan Neal last couple of years. He's coming to this with fresh eyes. The thing I don't understand is why the hell did Evan Neal want to stay with the Giants? He was basically a healthy scratch for most of last year. It clearly hasn't worked out. He had that hamburger comment with the fan about flipping hamburgers, and I think that's going to follow him forever. And unless he just got paid a ridiculous amount of money by the Giants, which probably wasn't going to happen, why did he choose to return? That's where I'm having questions here, Ed Valentine.
Well, before I start,
Yeah.
I have to issue a massive thank you to John Harbaugh and to Joe Shane,
Okay.
because the traffic and the comments exploded last night at Big Blue View after we posted, a story on the Neal signing. So thank you guys. Thank you for helping the website, putting a little money in my pocket. Thank you very much. Gotta love it. But on the flip side, couldn't they have given me a quiet night? I was just sitting down to dinner. I was just getting ready to put my feet up and try to catch up on some things, and then they had to do that. But look, the Evan Neal signing, and there are people that have gone berserk about Evan Neal. Look, from the Giants' perspective, it's a zero risk deal. My understanding of this is that this is led by John Harbaugh and the coaching staff. Look, they have a new head coach. They have a new offensive coordinator. They have an entirely new offensive staff. They have a new offensive line coach. Who knows what grade, the Baltimore Ravens had on Evan Neal 4 years ago. But I think John Harbaugh, I think Matt Nagy, the offensive coordinator, I think Mike Bloomgren, the offensive line coach, look at this and say, this dude was the 7th overall pick in the draft. This dude is 6'7", 340 pounds, and we love big, strong offensive linemen who can move people in the run game. They have to look at this guy and say, there's got to be something here. Maybe we can get something out of this guy, or that the Brian Daboll coaching staff couldn't get, because I think after a while, I think there was some distrust between Neal and the Giants coaching staff and all of that, because they did misdiagnose a broken ankle, that Neal had a couple of years ago, and so I think there was some distrust there between the two sides. But look, as somebody said to me last night, this is a guy that you're bringing to training camp. You bring 14 or 15 offensive linemen to training camp. You have a choice between bringing a former first-round pick who's 6'7" and 340 to training camp to take a look. Or you can bring in, an undrafted free agent from South Dakota who has no chance to make the roster. So why not? From Neal's perspective, John Harbaugh probably went to the guy and said, we want you here. We want to give you an opportunity. It's a whole new coaching staff. It's a whole new organization. Whatever happened before, it's a whole new medical staff. Whatever happened before is out the window. And in all honesty, who else was going to give Evan Neal a real chance at this point? So why not? Take the risk, see what happens. If nothing comes of it, nothing comes of it, and you're no worse off than you were.
Yeah, I guess it's just the cringe-worthy nature of it.
It's
you got the natives quite unrest.
Yes, and they're still fired up. So I thank the Giants for that. I thanked them anyway. But
yeah, I always think that venting does, there's a release, there's
cathartic.
Sometimes that when I get to vent, just scream and yell and say all kinds of words that I probably shouldn't say. I'm like, I feel better now. I feel better when that's all over. That's all the Giant fans are doing. They just kind of feel better. And who can hold that against them? We're talking with Ed Valentine, Big Blue View. It's our Giants Insider segment, Manchild Show with Boyd Green Digital at MC Show Digital. We are presented by our friends at Northeast Roofing Professionals, and today's video brought to you by our friends at the Floral Gardens of the Allen Floral Group. Let's just take 30 seconds, learn a little more about flowers, and then we'll be right back. All right, we're back talking all things Giants football at MC Show Digital, our YouTube handle. And please, if you aren't already, subscribe to the channel by hitting the subscribe button. We also have memberships available as well, and you can check those out once you are a subscriber at MC Show Digital on YouTube. All right, Ed Valentine, let's keep breaking down all things Giants. We're off of Evan Neal now. We can move into brighter, more important things in our life. One of the things, as you mentioned, is the Giants did lose Cordell Flott. If you want to touch on this a little bit, word out on the street from some insiders were that the Giants thought they had Cordell Flott, and then they ended up losing Cordell Flott. They end up getting Greg Newsome, I guess, to be a piece of what could be part of the replacing of Cordell Flott, but I still think they have more work to do there at the cornerback position. So talk about Flott's departure, the controversy there of the Giants thinking they could keep him, and then what do you think of Greg Newsome and what he brings to the table for the Giants?
Well, I think the price just got to a point with Flott where the Giants weren't comfortable. So I think there was probably a point in time where they felt like they had a deal, and then the Titans went a little bit beyond what the Giants were comfortable doing. And I have always wondered, although John Harbaugh said he wanted Cordell Flott back, I have always kind of wondered just how good a fit Flott was for the kind of defense that the Giants want to run. I mean, Cordell Flott's I won't say decent, he's a good player. He's an ascending player. He's still fairly young. But he's 6'1", and he's 175 pounds. And because of that, on the outside, he can't play press. He can't really successfully play press. And he doesn't help the run defense. And, it's funny. I asked him a year or so ago. I asked Flott a year or so ago. I said, dude, how much weight have you managed to put on since the Giants drafted you? And he says, I'm trying. He says, I've put on 3 pounds. In 3 years, 3 pounds.
Protein shakes, man. Protein shakes.
So putting on weight for Cordell was just not going to happen. So I always wondered, if he was the perfect fit. Newsome is less expensive. I know everybody said, why didn't they sign Reek Woolen and all that? But, Newsome's a former first-round pick, a guy that had 3 really good years in Cleveland, hasn't played well the last 2 years. Maybe on a prove-it deal, he has a bounce-back year. But you're right; they're probably not done there. They probably have work to do, especially maybe in the draft at corner. But that's the way free agency is. Holes pop up, and you have to go fill them somehow. And maybe the answers aren't always quite as good as what you just lost.
This could be a metabolism issue. I had a friend. When I was at Syracuse University in the dorms, my first year at Syracuse, and I was dormed up with a whole bunch of law students. All right, so it was me in the broadcasting program and a whole bunch of law students. And one of the guys is this guy named Dan. I wish I could remember Dan's last name. Nice guy. We did some fun things together, me and Dan. He was 2 doors down from me in this wing that we were in the dorm. And Dan was about 6'3", 6'4", and about 150 pounds. I mean, I was like, dude, like he was like so skin and bones. It was unbelievable. And, I don't know. We just had a conversation where I was just like, man, you got to put on some weight, man. You're so thin. Hey, man, how do you? He's like, yeah, I got like some kind of supersonic metabolism. He says, I drink these chocolate protein shakes, as much as I can. And then I would watch him, and every single day he would drink these big, giant protein shakes, those chocolate milk protein shakes in a big vat. He'd shake them up, drink them every night. I'd look at him the next day. I was like, Looks the same to me. The guy in my entire 4 years that I got to know never gained a pound, and he was drinking those protein shakes like there was no tomorrow. The kid was trying to put on weight. He couldn't do it. So maybe Flott's just got a metabolism issue. I don't know.
I just want the off-air story on some of those quote-unquote fun things.
Yes,
that's what I want. That's what I want.
We had a night in Montreal that we'd have to talk about off-air. That was pretty good. Yeah, that was pretty good.
But Ed, I'm glad that both of our journalistic antennas went up when he's telling that story. And he says, me and him did a couple of fun things. Oh, did you? Oh, yes. Oh, well, I'd love
there
to hear
you go.
what the hell happened there. That's.
I have a feeling we're never going to hear those stories.
I don't think so
Probably
at
not,
all.
boys. Probably not. Nice try. Probably not.
All right, let me get a random selfish one in here, Ed. One of your giant free agents jumped over to my Jets, Dane Belton, and I've been texting with a couple of Giants people I know, and I've heard a variety of things. Ed, you're one of the people I should have reached out to first. Dane Belton. What are the Jets getting in Dane Belton?
You didn't come to me, so now you want me to give you the intel.
Yeah.
All right. Really good special teams player.
Okay.
Really good. Had something like 16, 17 special teams tackles a year ago, which was near the top in the NFL. He's a guy who, 4th round pick, really good athlete, really good nose for the ball, but for whatever reason has never been able to really establish himself as a starter on defense. I don't know if it's because there's holes in his coverage or what it is, but maybe the Jets give him an opportunity to win a starting job. I would assume that's what he's, that's what he was looking for. Like I said, he's like never been an every down player, but when he is on the field, he somehow has always found a way to find the ball. A quick Belton story for you.
Oh, great. Sure.
When he was a rookie, his very first NFL play was a kickoff. He was on kickoff coverage. Runs down the field and recovers a fumble on kickoff coverage. Very first NFL play. So I'm in the locker room 3 or 4 days later, and I said to Belton, I said, "Hey," I said, "what'd you do with the ball?" And he says, "Man," he says, "I got so excited I forgot to keep it. Nobody reminded me to keep it. He just threw it back to the official and went back to the sideline."
I love that.
So he never got the ball.
Oh, that's too bad.
I was like, dude, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Goodness
Oh,
gracious.
Dane Belton.
Hey, like a lot of teams out there, Ed, a lot of special teams moves going on, and kickers and punters moving all over the place, and the Giants have completely retooled their kicking game. They went out and arguably got the best punter in football in Jordan Stout, who, again, is from the Baltimore pipeline that John Harbaugh seems to be tapping. And then just a day or so ago, Jason Sanders, the kicker from Miami, who's got a pretty lively leg. So they're getting away from, dare I say, the old man routine that they've been in recent years and finally going with somebody a little bit more in their prime. So talk about the upgrades here that the Giants have made at the punter and kicker positions.
Well, is it not a very Harbaugh-esque move to sign a punter to a market-setting contract in the NFL? I mean, Jordan Stout is now the highest-paid punter in the NFL. And you got to love it because the Giants' kicking game, especially the place kicking, has been a mess for the last few years. Jamie Gillen's a pretty good punter, but inconsistent. So I kind of love it. I wonder, Jason Sanders, the place kicker, missed all of last year with a hip injury. I wonder what that contract looks like. And the Giants did find Ben Sauls, rookie place kicker toward the end of last year, who was really good in a really small sample size. 8 for 8 on field goal attempts, 7 for 7 on extra points. I wonder if they're handing this job to Jason Sanders or if there's going to be a real competition there. But you had to know that John Harbaugh wasn't handing the job to a kid who had 3 games of NFL experience. So for me, it's a good thing that the kicking game is being prioritized instead of sort of, oh, we have to have one.
So, Ed here, with the Giants having the 5th overall pick, they've now made a flurry of moves that we spent the last 20 minutes going over. Has your opinion changed on what the Giants planned on doing with the number 5 overall pick before free agency? And what is your take now? Is there a massive change in your thought process of who they would now consider, or who is at the top of their dream list here as we're about 6 weeks out from the draft?
Well, the one thing for me that has changed is I think with the signing of Jermaine Illuminor, you have Marcus Bowe, who they drafted a year ago as a capable swing tackle, a guy who might develop into more than that. For me, I think the idea of taking a tackle at number 5 is off the board.
Okay.
All right. For me, I came out of the combine thinking that if Sonny Styles, the linebacker out of Ohio State, is sitting at number 5, and if your Jets take him, you and I have to have words there, Mr. Boy Green. But look, I came out of the combine thinking that there's not a chance that John Harbaugh lets Sonny Styles go by at number 5. And I really don't think the signing of Tremaine Edmonds changes that. I really don't. You can make an argument for Caleb Downs. There are, believe it or not, more and more people who think Jeremiah Love, the running back from Notre Dame, is in play for the Giants. Todd McShay, for example, has said over and over that Jeremiah Love is the best player in this draft. And he connected Love to the Giants the other day. Wide receiver, people are going to argue about the need for wide receiver. Here's the thing.
Okay.
John Harbaugh has been clear that he doesn't necessarily care about positional value or need at number 5, which, he never had the number 5 pick with the Ravens. What he cares about is getting a player with gold jacket potential at number 5. Okay. And, gold jacket potential or blue chip, he wants one of the 3 or 4 best players in this draft, regardless of position.
Sure.
And who are those guys? Those guys are Jeremiah Love. Those guys, that's Jeremiah Love. That's Caleb Downs. That's Sonny Styles. And if you really want to go out there for me and name a 4th guy who's not an edge rusher, okay, it's Vega Ioane, the guard from Penn State, who is, according to most draft analysts, the best offensive lineman in this class, who happens to play a position where the Giants could really use some help, because we really don't want a competition between Evan Neal and Jake Kubas for the starting right tackle job, or right guard job.
Okay.
But you would have to drop down probably to justify taking the guard. You'd have to drop down from number 5, but it might be a possibility. We'll see where it goes.
Lurch, do you have anything else left?
Just one other guy I wanted to ask you about.
Okay,
John Harbaugh has been very, very big on the fullback position, and again, the pipeline to Baltimore continues. and they picked up Patrick Ricard. So talk about Ricard and the fact that John Harbaugh likes to operate at times with a fullback in that backfield. Talk about that.
I think you could have seen the signing of Ricard to the Giants coming from a mile away, for the simple reason that I actually went a month or so ago and I looked at it. John Harbaugh was coach of the Ravens for 18 years.
Yeah.
In 16 of those 18 years, they had a top-tier fullback in Baltimore. Ricard was that guy for 9 years. The first 6 or 7 years of Harbaugh's time there, They also had a fullback, and I can't remember who it was, but they had a fullback who was heavily used. So while the rest of the NFL is devaluing the fullback, that is not the case with John Harbaugh. So what we now have with the Giants, and again, Ricard just got a market-setting deal for a fullback, another very Harbaugh move. But so what you now have is Cam Scatterbo running behind Patrick Ricard, running behind Evan Neal, running behind Chris Manhertz, who was just signed as the blocking tight end. So there you go.
Wow.
There you go. The a supposed mountain coming at the defensive line.
My final one, Ed, here is obviously the Giants have spent Buko Bucks, Tremaine Edmonds, Jermaine Illuminor, Isaiah Likely. I mean, the money is all over the place. So I don't know what splashes are left. But what is the number one item on the New York Giants to-do list prior to the 2026 NFL draft? Again, we're about 6 weeks out. Is there another free agent move to make? Is there a trade to make? Is there a key re-signing of just extending one of your own to make? Is there anything? What's the next big thing on the list to do for Harbaugh?
Well, I think there are a few. Okay, there are a few.
Sure.
On the offensive side, I think you'd still like to bring back Greg Van Roten, who was the starting right guard a year ago. Yes, you've brought back Evan Neal, but Van Roten is a guy who, even if he doesn't start, again, could be your swing guy, could be, because he's got center experience, he's got left guard experience. So maybe Van Roten, maybe adding a wide receiver to the mix is a possibility. On the defensive side of the ball, I know everybody's still in a panic about the cornerback spot, but for me, they still have not added defensive tackle help, interior defensive line help next to Dexter Lawrence. I'm actually working on a story about that, which I'll finish up when we're done here. But there's dozens of defensive tackles out there on the free agent market still at this point in time, and I'll be really surprised if the Giants don't add one or two to help, at low cost, inexpensive signings to help the depth, because they've gotten, every time Dexter Lawrence has come off the field for the last 2 years, they've gotten just gashed in the run game, and they have to do something about that.
And Ed, last one from me. What is your gut about how the situation plays out with Kayvon Thibodeau? I mean, obviously the Giants were shopping him. It sounds like the market wasn't all that ripe. Giants certainly don't want to give him away for nothing, but they also have limited time to make this decision. The guy's heading into the last year of his deal. So give me your thoughts about how this thing might play out.
I keep going back and forth on that. Look, last year I didn't support the idea of trading Kayvon, which everybody thought, they should trade Kayvon as soon as they drafted Abdul Carter. Now I can support the idea of doing it depending on the return. Yeah. They don't have a third-round pick. They might not be able to get a third-round pick for Thibodeau, but it wouldn't kill me if they could get a fourth-round pick. I don't know what's going to happen here, but I personally think, Thibodeau's probably better than anybody they could sign as a third edge, but I personally think it's a real gamble for them to keep him through the 2026 season. Let him head to free agency and see if they can get a compensatory pick, because you just don't know. You just don't know. I see that we have company. Hey, there we go. But
yeah, there we go. Yeah, Polly's here.
That's PE3 right there.
There we go. You gotta love it. Gotta love it. Little visitor.
That is all right. 3. Is that a 3? He's holding up 3.
Yeah, 3.
Yeah.
No thanks. I don't want that. Thanks. But
yeah. So just to finish up the Thibodeau question, I don't know what's going to happen with Kayvon. For all I know, the Giants might keep him and might, depending on how the year goes, they might look to see if they can get something for him at the deadline next year.
Okay. All right. We'll see how that all plays out. All right. Ed Valentine, always great to check in with you, man. I hope there's no no more Evan Neal drops on you. You know, it's nice to have a night. You know, a little hot cocoa, put your feet up on the old Barca lounger. You know, watch one of your favorite TV series or something. You know, binge something. You know, have a little fun, crying out loud. So
I'm staying online for some of those stories.
The work never stops, doesn't it? The work never stops, as I've learned in the digital world. The work never stops, my friend. 24/7, 365. Football, yes, it actually does exist.
Absolutely.
My wife's feelings that, football's over. What do you mean? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Everything. We're talking about everything. Life, pursuit of happiness.
Oh, good Lord.
Money. All right. Ed, thank you, buddy. We'll talk to you again next week.
All right. Bye-bye.